am deathly terrified of this tank move, to be honest. There's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong, not only in the process of moving the tank, but also once the tank is actually settled. Luckily, I live only 5 minutes away from my old house, so it's not gonna be that awful. I'm not traveling a long distance, but there are still several concerns I have. First, the sheer size of this tank is going to make this very difficult. I mean, in the past, the only tanks I've ever moved were my BioCube 29 gallon. I moved that little thing like twice from my apartment to the house and then to a different room, and that felt like an undertaking in itself. But this is a whole different story. Against this wall here is where I plan on putting the 220 gallon reef tank. I really love this spot because here is going to be my dining table, you know? And then when you're sitting here in the living room, and looking through the pillars, all you see is a beautiful reef tank. I mean, it's gonna be so freaking sick. But also a good spot because you see the floors here, they're all hard, perfect for holding the weight of the beast and also for, you know, any water that might spill. It's really solid floor here. The windows, they don't actually have that much light going through. It's kind of deflected light like it is right now. It's just a really good spot overall. The only issue here is that there's not many outlets. There's only one outlet here directly behind the tank, but then there's also one over there. I know you can't see, and excuse the mess. My cats keep getting into my plants and it's the most annoying thing ever, but never mind. Only 2 outlets, only one behind the tank, so I don't know how I'm gonna make it work, but we're gonna have to make it work, so we'll figure it out. The only thing that I don't like about this spot is that it's not really close to any kind of water source. Technically it is, the kitchen is right behind in here, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not behind this wall, is not this like dedicated fish room, which obviously would be goals, but unfortunately not the situation that I'm dealing with right now. Hopefully one day I would love to have a whole dedicated fish room behind my tank, but we gotta work with what we have. So just like where it was placed at my old house, it's gonna be a bit of a mission putting water through here or getting water through here for the water changes and anything like that. How we're actually going to get the tank inside the house is something that truly concerns me. This tank is very, very large, to say the least, especially when you have people trying to hold on to it. You need a lot of room to work with, and it needs to actually physically fit inside. We're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna get this beast inside of here, because we have very limited options about how to get this inside. Since the tank is right here, it would make the most sense to bring it in through this door. Here is my driveway, so it would make the most sense, right, to go out through this door and bring the tank in. But look, y'all, look at this. Ain't no 220 gallon tank sitting in this little crevice. So this, unfortunately, there goes Bow. This, unfortunately, is out of the question. The only other way that we can get this beast inside in the location is through my front door. This could actually work. It's a direct path to the tank, and there's enough room here, especially if I push the furniture aside. So this is definitely what I am considering. If they can fit through the door, though, is a different question. Now, my door is wide enough from here to here, but when the door is open, hangs out a bit. So I don't know if this is gonna really work, and it might come down to actually taking the front door off of its hinges, which I really hope is not the case, because trying to get this process done as speedy as possible to, you know, minimize the fish getting upset and, you know, all the chaos that ensues. So I really hope it doesn't come down to that, but if it does, it does. At least we get the tank inside. This is the part that really troubles me, though. This is the part that really troubles me, because look at my front pathway. It's really windy outside, so my audio is going to sound terrible, but look at this. This is the most jankiest pathway you've ever seen. Look at this. And y'all, there are steps. There are freaking steps. So how the heck are we gonna, I don't even know. This tank is big. We've got a big tank here. I mean, I definitely cannot lift it. Thank goodness that my LFS is helping me out with this move and taking care of mostly everything here. Really takes the stress off of my shoulders. Worried about breaking up my equipment, keeping my Radeons safe, my treasured baby Radeons that I'm so in love with, but also taking apart my sump. I mean, I don't even know. Plumbing it was really difficult, and to me it just seems overwhelming how much is going to take place tomorrow, from the actual moving to plumbing this thing. I mean, it just seems like it's going to be a lot, and it will be a lot, but hopefully it goes smoothly. I'm really worried about how my corals and my fish will fare. You know, I'm really hoping that the tank doesn't recycle. I plan to keep the sand in my tank when I'm moving, just because it's only 5 minutes away, but I will have to actually take out the sand from the tank just to be able to lift it and then putting it back in. But I mean, worried about disturbing the sand bed like that. I mean, luckily this tank hasn't been set up for all that long, like a year and a half, so there shouldn't be that much buildup in there, but still it is a concern. I don't want to have my tank recycle, because that would really hurt the fish and it would really hurt the corals, and it's something that I just don't want to deal with, you know? I mean, also my fish. I have tangs. I have two beloved tangs. I have a blue tang and my lovely Tamini tang. I'm really concerned about my blue tang particularly, because the stress from moving these fish, you know, it's going to be a lot on them, you know, taking them out of their home and then putting them in, you know, little containers, little boxes, and then transporting them in the water when it moves from the transportation and putting them back into this like new environment. It's gonna be very stressful on them. And you know, when fish get stressed out, they break out an ick. And what fish is more susceptible to ick? It is the blue tang. I'm expecting the worst. You know, I'm expecting that my tang will get ick. I've never handled ick. I've never had ick with a fish. I've never dealt with it. So it's going to be really interesting if that does happen, how I'm gonna go about, you know, helping the fish get better. Thing that I am particularly worried about is my aquascape. My aquascape is very oddly shaped. It's this minimalistic, ranchy, you know, oddly shaped, top heavy, bottom foot. It's very weird, and it's going to be very difficult to transport just because of its shape and its size. It is a big aquascape. I mean, it doesn't look like it's big when it's sitting in my tank, but it is very big and very delicate. So I'm very worried. I'm very worried about having to move this thing. I really don't want this thing to break. It took me like 2 months, no joke, 2 months to build that thing. It broke on me twice, and I had to rebuild it twice. I mean, this thing was very difficult for me to construct and actually put into the tank. So I'm worried about taking it out. I'm worried about how to transport it, and I'm worried about putting it back in. Very many opportunities for this thing to crumble, and that would destroy me, because I love my aquascape and I don't know how to fix it. If this thing were to break, I wouldn't even know how to go about it. And I don't think even you can, you know? I mean, how would I build that again? I would have to use eMarco cement, let it dry out, and at that point, like, you're just starting a new scape. This is just, Had the tank not been running for only a year and a half and it was more complete, I would definitely use this opportunity as a time to start over. But I just started this tank. I want to see it going. I'm in love with my scape. I'm in love with my coral placement. I really want to replicate it here at my new house. I don't want to have to start fresh. So, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing happens to that thing, because I'm going to be at a loss. If we're going to have to go through that whole aquascaping ordeal that we went through in the past videos, no, we're not going there.